this horrible tragedy that took place in Gaza, took the life of your friend. An Israeli airstrike hit a World Central Kitchen, a convoy, and you had a friend that was a part of that convoy, and we've all gotten to know her as Zomi. Can you tell us who Zomi was and how you met Zomi?
Zomi's like a force of nature, to be perfectly honest. I met her in 2018 in Guatemala. The nonprofit that I founded here in DC takes high school kids from the DC region to do sports camps in Mayan communities in Guatemala. And one of our coaches went ahead of us and was preparing us, getting ready for us arriving in Guatemala when a volcano erupted, and the volcano created huge mudslides, particularly in some of the poorest communities in Guatemala lost their lives. Zomi was studying Spanish in Antigua, Guatemala, and Antigua has a ton of very sort of expat friendly bars and restaurants there. And she organized them to help with an aid effort for the families that had lost their homes and for aid workers that were spending, 12 hours a day trying to dig people and their property out of the mud. That was before World Central Kitchen got there. It was World Central Kitchen showed up, and this woman had already kind of started organizing that, and along with one of our coaches, Josh Phelps, who was down there. They essentially linked up with World Central Kitchen in 2018, and for both of them, for Josh for several years, but for Zomi, it became her life. It became like, essentially she left Guatemala with what she had with her in a backpack, and then went to the Bahamas, went to Haiti, went to the Ukraine, went to the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, Venezuela, all over the world, to disaster areas, to war-torn regions, to just try to provide a little bit of comfort to people in need. And I think the thing that made her special as an aid worker was anyone can hand you a plate of food across a table, say, here's a bowl of rice. What she did was she connected with those folks at their worst moment. Like if you see a photo of her, the smile is contagious. She never met a stranger. So in a moment when people's lives were coming apart, she was the person that was like providing humanity in that moment.
Yeah.
It was a connection. It was like a mutuality between people. You couldn't really tell who was the service provider and who was the service recipient, because they were in a very sort of human bond in that moment. And that's something I think, working in nonprofits for 30 years, is really unique. You can fake that, but it doesn't come across as genuine. She was just genuine. She put herself in like those people's shoes and tried to see like, what would I want in that moment? And that's kind of in a nutshell who she was.
How do you feel right now, having lost your friend? What did you feel when you heard the news?
There's a lot of over the last year, I would probably text her, once or twice a week, and just, where are you going? What's your next assignment? About 2 weeks ago, I contacted her because as I was watching what's going on in Haiti sort of fall apart, I was asking her which warlord you were under protection of in Haiti, because I thought for some reason there was a barbecue story that she had. And in that, I realized that like she's put herself in awful, like dangerous situations. It's part of her job. It's not like World Central Kitchen kind of comes in and says, who wants this one? Who's up for that one? I mean, it's like, that's your job. We're going to Haiti. Okay, I'll go to Haiti. But for her, I mean, it was something that was so connected. It was like really just sort of like fused in her DNA to try to be a difference maker. That now, as I'm second guessing things, should World Central Kitchen have sent in folks into Gaza? Should they have taken more precautions? What was the level of connection with the IDF at that time? I just realized that that's just me thinking about that situation, but it wouldn't have changed. Zomi was there. There were people in need. There were people dying of starvation, and she would definitely have wanted to, you know, make a difference in at least those people's lives that she was able to touch. So yesterday was definitely a roller coaster of emotions, a lot of tears, a lot of beers with some of her coworkers at her favorite dive bar on U Street. Um, it's a rough world, man. It's so easy to just see the horrors around us. And I think that I just have to sort of find my zombie lens and remind myself that there is like a lot of magic and miracle and great people in this world. And definitely, I think the world's a little bit darker tonight because we lost her.
Wow. That's powerful, and it's very, very strong. Um, and I noticed through that you have communicated how you're feeling, even though you haven't said a whole lot about it. But I'm pretty certain that you feel like you've lost a really wonderful friend, and I wonder what your message is now to the rest of the world, to those who see this, um, because the things that she was doing are still out there to be done. So what's your thought and message for those left
I
behind?
kind of, wrote this a little bit here. In DC, one of the nonprofits I work with is Potter's House, and we feed an unhoused population and people that are food insecure in sort of their day-to-day lives in Adams Morgan, Columbia Heights sort of neighborhoods. And there's other places here, St. Margaret's, DC Central Kitchen, Martha's Table, all throughout DC that are trying to do the same thing in our own small way. I just say for anybody that's been moved or angered or brought to like rage by what they're seeing right now, it's pick up her fallen standard, you know? Don't be idle in this moment. There's you don't have to go to Gaza to try to make a difference in the world. I mean, you know, look at just the poverty that we suffer here in the District of Columbia or in the region. Pick up that standard, man, and see where your gifts meet the needs of the world. Um, I think that that's what Zomi would want. I think that that is what her legacy should be. Is that that it makes me think of the starfish story my grandmother used to tell me of the one of the thousands of starfish are washed up on the beach, and there's a guy out there throwing the starfish back into the ocean one by one, and another person sees him there. It's like he's like, this is futile. There's thousands of starfish. So he goes up to the guy and he goes, "Hey, I see what you're doing. Thousands of starfish are here. You're not making a difference in any of this. You can't by yourself do this." The guy reaches down, picks up a starfish, throws it back in the ocean, turns to the man and says, "Made a difference to that one."
Yeah, that is exactly what this life is all about, Brian.
Yeah,
Making a difference. Each one reach one, each one teach one, each one do something for one. And
100%. Yeah, I think Mother Teresa used to say it that about the ills of the world, saying that we forgot that we belong to each other. You know,
yeah,
you know, I love the idea that a Indian Australian woman who really lifestyle is being a vagabond, dispensing meals, like thought it was so important to like reach out and make sure that Muslim Palestinian children wouldn't go hungry. Um, and I think that that is just that's the thing that we forget. We belong to each other, but it's not like I'm doing this because I can look down on you. That's a very first world sort of
yeah.
view that we're in that sort of exquisite mutuality. And I think that anyone who attempts to make a difference in someone's life is, it's worthy of it. And I think that, definitely for me and definitely for me and my like, a bit of a being around her, she was full of stuff. It was like that church kind of vibe. You be around her and like you leave, and it's like, man, I'm filled with that zombie spirit, like I'm gonna take on the whole world. And I gotta remember that that's how you felt when you were around her.
Yeah.
Because without her now I just gotta, I can only sort of lean back on how I felt when that energy, like when she would like fire us up to like come and do something. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough. And I don't know the other six people from World Central Kitchen. I heard stories last night about Damien, the Polish guy who Zomi was in the car with when the missile struck them. He was leaving a bad situation in Poland and like ended up saying like, well, there's people who have it worse off than I do.
Yeah.
Ukrainians have it worse than I do.
Yeah.
Well, people in the Congo have it worse than I do. I'm going to go out and so that guy was fired up about being in Gaza. And I'm sure that you have to have that sort of spirit to go into, the worst places on earth at the worst moment and
Yeah.
try to bring just a light of humanity with you. Remember that there's life beyond what you're suffering through right at this moment.
Yeah, we all the time in this life in this world talk about the richest people in the world being an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or something like that. But I'm going to have to argue at this point, Brian, that one of the richest persons in the world was Zomi
Yeah.
because she got it, and those other six people that were with her got it. You get it, and a lot of other people get it. That's where the true riches in this life lie in
Yeah.
service to others.
No, and I'm 100% I believe in that. And I do want to say one thing though, which is the attention that this is getting for the seven people that died with the World Central Kitchen. It's that personality and sort of a character of Jose Andres really sort of casts a big shadow. And I know that people are focusing on these seven aid workers, six who carry Western passports as being a tragedy. But I also want to remind people that 200 other aid workers have been killed in the Gaza Strip. Most all of them are Palestinians. Um, many from the Egyptian side or from the West Bank that came over to try to help and do the same things that World Central Kitchen folks are doing. So I mean, don't just be we shouldn't just focus on the folks that we know because we can identify with them. There's people that are putting their lives on the line every day in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Haiti, all across the globe where there's a crisis. There's people locally that are trying to like fight that, not just um, World Central Kitchen or other aid organizations that are flying in to help and organize. There's local homegrown heroes everywhere.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%. These other folks that we don't know about need to be remembered, and we need to continue to push their legacies as well. They were out there doing work, the hard work, fighting the fight, the good fight, and fighting on behalf of us. And, the other people, while we do what we do here, but we're grateful to them. And thank you for bringing that up. I had the pleasure of meeting Jose Andres years ago, working as a videographer, doing a video for his Haleo restaurant here in Washington back in the early days. And I haven't seen him in years, have not had the ability to contact, don't know how to reach him. I mean, I do know what he's doing, and have tried, but cannot. But I'm hopeful that he will see this video and see that Zomi is so well remembered by you and all of the rest of the World Central Kitchen people, and understand just how big a deal what he has become and the World Central Kitchen has become is for the world. And as well, you too, Bryan Weaver, you're a hero for doing this. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time to do this.
It is a complete pleasure on my part. Anytime I can talk about uh, zombies, like time well spent.
Very well spent. Thank you very much, my friend.
No problem. Hope to talk to you soon.